All right. So, hello everyone. Assalamu alaikum to the folks in Pakistan. To PWiC is presenting a webinar on Resume 101, how to land more interviews. Our guest speaker for today is Alicia Perkins. Alicia is a resume writer and career strategist and who has helped over 700 professionals obtain rewarding careers through resume writing, career coaching, interview prep, and job support to help them land a dream career. She's also a published author and has over a decade of experience in corporate recruiting for Fortune 500 companies and has fostered a deep understanding of what hiring managers look for in resumes and in candidates. Taking and leveraging that insight and knowledge, she has dedicated herself to not only inspire others, but to provide them with the ultimate tools and skills necessary to reach their career aspirations. With that as her core foundation, she has implemented herself to preparing professionals not to just them get noticed, but to get hired. Welcome aboard, Alicia. The stage is yours. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. I am so honored to be here to speak with you guys about something that I am very passionate about, something that I have a lot of experience in. And so I have an hour, but I would try to share as much information as I can with you all. So I want to go ahead and get started. Let's go ahead. I believe my screen is already sharing with you all. So today, what I want to talk to you about is how to land more actual job interviews. I know that right now, with everything that is going on with the actual unemployment rate, it's really high right now. But I've come here to encourage you that you are still able to find that dream job. That dream job at this time, it's just that it's going to take a little bit more strategy and actual on your part, but it's definitely something that is able to be done. So today we are going to be talking a little bit about that. Just before we get started, I do want to explain to you who I am. Like it was said earlier, I've helped over 700 people find their dream job. And so a little bit about my experience. I have been in hiring in HR for over the last 10 years, and I've probably hired for any position that you can possibly think of. And so I've just come here today to just share the experience that I have. So today we're going to be talking about the components of an effective resume, right? Because for the most part, I'm pretty sure everybody has one, but it's not just about having one. It's about making sure that it is effective. And so what I'll do today is I will share with you how that's done. I'm going to talk with you about the applicant tracking system that is known as the ATS. This is something that everybody needs to know about because this system can actually cause your application to actually be tossed to the side. And so I wanted to come today to explain to you how that works, so I can make sure that resume is actually being seen. Also, we're going to talk about the common mistakes that people make on their resume. Okay, most people don't realize that there are mistakes that's being made, but there are mistakes that could cost you the job. And so I've come here today to just explain to you what those mistakes look like and how we are able to fix those mistakes. And then we will go over frequently asked questions at the end. So this first slide says your resume is your first impression. Okay. For anybody that is applying online, you have to realize that the person on the other side that is having to read through these applications, that is the first tidbit that they see of you. One of the things I like to say is that your resume is your movie trailer, and it gives them an idea of what skill set you have. And it also gives them a little bit of background on your experience, though it can be almost impossible to share all of your experience, but it is very important that they are able to get a very good view of your skill set. And that's why it is so important that their resume is written in a right way, and also it's written in a way that is able to sell you. And so since that resume is your first impression, it is very, very important that you make it count, right? So 6.5 seconds, that's the average amount of time that they spend reading on your resume. Give them a reason to keep reading. I can attest to this fact that this is so true. I myself, when I was hiring, I would sometimes get 300 to 400 people applying to one role. So it was almost impossible to actually go through and read everyone's. But what I did do is I would spend that first 6 to 5 seconds scanning through to see if this is something that I really wanted to keep reading. And that's why it's so important that there are certain key components on that resume that is able to actually capture the reader. And so that is something else that I will also be going over with you today to make sure that that resume isn't boring, it's not stale, but it is getting you to the role that you desire to actually be in. So always remember that 6.5 seconds, that's the time that they actually spend at first scanning through. And so here it is. We're going to talk about the components of an effective resume, because if you are one that is applying to a whole lot of jobs and you're like, Alicia, I'm applying and I'm applying and I'm applying, but I'm not hearing anything back, then chances are it probably is your resume. So what makes a resume good? So the first tip is that it needs to be targeted towards a specific role. The common mistake that people tend to make is that it's too generic, but it's so important that their resume is targeted towards a specific role. Why? Because when we are on the other side, trying to find somebody to fill this particular role, we are wanting to see what problems can you solve that's related to this role. And so if your resume has all kind of experience that's not related to the role, it's very hard for us to see if you're a good fit. So it's very important that the resume is not I guess you can say too vague, but it needs to be very specific to that role that you are seeking to apply to. The next component of an effective resume is that it needs to have a powerful summary profile. Summary profile. Now, when I say that, that is that little top part at the very top of the resume. A lot of people will use an objective statement for that, but that's not what that section's for. That section is for your sales pitch. That section needs to be about 5 to 6 statements long, stating who you are, what do you do, and why would you be a good fit for this role. That little top part also needs to be able to say not only what it is you do, but how do you work. Another component of an effective resume is a good mixture of hard and soft skills, which goes back to the statement I just made. It is just as important to state what you do, but it's also important to state how do you work. And that is able to give the person that's on the other side a good view of your experience as a whole, especially with my clients that are in more of the technical field. I tend to notice that they always kind of put a lot of terms and a lot of technical words, but it's so important to show them how you work. And the next tip is quantifiable, meaning it's so important to show them numbers, metrics. That is almost more of a solid proof to your actual experience. When I say that, this is example for a past job, what you want to list is something like, I helped sales by 35%. It's so good for us to see those actual metrics and numbers. Again, that makes your experience more solid, and having those numbers on your resume, that automatically draws our eyes. And so it's so important to not only list the actual job duties that you've done, but it's also important to really be able to put in metric forms what kind of issues you were able to solve. Another thing is using keywords. And this has a lot to do with the actual applicant tracking system, which is something that I will talk about a little bit more in a few minutes. But it is so important that that resume has keywords that is related to that particular job. It is so important to have keywords that is related to that specific field, because that is what we are looking for. Here are some more components of an effective the resume. It is important that it is the right length. Your resume should never really ever be over 2 pages, depending on the amount of experience or depending on the kind of role that you are applying for. If you have anywhere between 0 to 4 years experience, you should be able to fit that on 1 page. And if you have anything a little over 4 years experience, I do understand that you may then go over into page 2, but your resume should never ever be over 2 pages, because chances are they will not read all of that. So again, it's not about you just putting all of your experience on there. You want to only put the experience that's related to the position that you're applying for, and you only want to put the experience or the information that is going to sell you. Everything on your resume needs to be value centered and value focused. A lot of times we tend to have a lot of fluff on there, and you're not realizing that it doesn't have to be said. And you also, what you want to do is you want to save something to talk about face to face with them. So again, everything does not have to be put on there. And another tip is, for each job, you should only be trying to list at least 4 to 5 job duties or for each job. I've seen some resumes that they have each job and it's like 10 to 12 bullet points. You don't have to do that. And chances are you, in those actual bullet points, there's probably information in there that you're sharing that does not have to be shared. Another tip is you want to be sure that resume is easy to scan through. Remember that through that other slide, we only spend 6.5 seconds on each one. So whatever information that I am wanting to see initially, I should be able to find that. This is why it's important to use bullet points. This is why it's important to make sure that each section is actually headed, It's very important that everything is formatted in a way to where eyes are able to actually scan through it very, very fast. And this all goes back into good formatting. It's so important that the actual formatting is good. And this also is into those actual tracking systems. It's very important that the resume is formatted in a good way. And by formatting, I mean, I'm talking about your actual template. I've seen people who get really, really cute with them and they get really creative with them, but that's not always the best thing. I tell people it's so much better to keep everything simple, because when you start to have a whole lot of fonts or a whole lot of different graphics on your resume, that can tend to be very distracting. And I myself, when I was hiring, I only was concerned about the actual content. All that other stuff that it was cute with, I was not concerned about that. So the thing that you want to put the most emphasis on is the actual content. Another component is the information, again, needs to be relevant. It's so important that it is related to the position that you are applying for. So if you are trying to apply for a position in finance, you want to be sure that every job that you have on there is related to that certain role. And this is where transferable skills come in. And by transferable skills, I mean that these are skills that are not just related to a specific role, but they are able to be used throughout various roles. For an example of a transferable skill is project management. That is something that is used in finance. That is something that is used in sales. That is something that is used in healthcare. So as you can see, that is a transferable skill. And so if you are one who may not have a lot of experience in the particular career that you're looking to pursue, what you need to do is learn how to translate that experience that you do have and make it transferable. Another tip is it needs to be accomplishment driven. It's like I said earlier, these companies are looking to see what kind of problems can you solve and how can you help them. And so it's very important that on your resume is not just a bunch of job duties or your actual day-to-day tasks, but it needs to actually show what value did you bring, when I say value, I'm thinking about more of actual processes that you made up. Was there anything that you caused to be streamlined? So you want to be sure that you really expose these facts about you, because that is the key that is going to have you sold. And I tell my clients it's so important to always keep a brag book. And by a brag book, I mean you need to keep track of the actual accomplishments that are being made on your job. Why? Because a lot of people tend to forget what it is that they do. I had a client one time, and her resume, I was doing it for her, and as I was speaking to her, I found out that she saved the company that she worked for $200,000. But this information was not on there because in her mind, she's thinking that that's something small, or in some cases, you feel like it's not a big deal, but this is a big deal. And this all goes back to quantifiable data. These are the numbers. This is the value that needs to be shown, because again, this is what's going to sell you. So remember that when you are your resume, when it comes to it, it is okay to brag about yourself. It is okay to actually boast in those things that you have done. And so it's very, very important that you keep this in mind, because again, it's all about selling yourself. The next component is power words. When I say power words, I'm talking about words that is going to bring captivation. For instance, a word that everybody uses on their resume is maintained. or what's another one that everybody seems to use? So it's just those common words. It's time to find something that's going to kind of boost up your experience. Another word that people tend to use is led. Okay. So an example of a power word is spearheaded. Another example of a word for led would be you cultivated, you delegated, you directed, you facilitated. All these are examples of power words that is going to boost up your experience, because by nature, we always tend to downplay our experience and not realize that the actual the value that you brought is something great. So what you don't want to use is words that will cause that experience like to be dumbed down. And so another example of a word that I see a lot of people use on a resume is made. Okay, made is a word, but you want to use more powerful words like navigated, like partnered with, like performed. All of these is going to sell your experience in a way to where it doesn't sound as dull, because one of the things you have to realize is that when you are applying for a position, you have about maybe 100 to 200 people, especially now you can have up to 500 to 600 people applying to a role. So it's your goal to stand out. So these using these power words, that's what's going to help you do that. So next, I want to talk about applicant tracking systems. This is something that most people are not aware of, but it can have a great impact on your application process. And so an applicant tracking system, known as the ATS, is a human resources software that acts as a database for job applicants. So this is what we use to store your resume. So it says 99% of Fortune 500 companies uses applicant tracking systems to screen. In addition, about 70% of companies use them as ATS. And it says it's very important that your resume is done in the correct way so it is able to be seen by human eyes. So when it comes to the applicant tracking system, again, just the time that we're actually in, nobody is going hand by hand. Nobody has the time to go hand by hand through each one. So what's happening is your application is being screened and scanned through this system. Now, this system is looking for keywords. Remember, that's one of the points that I made earlier. It's very important to have those keywords. And so when your application is scanned through this system, it is looking for certain things. And if those certain things are not there, that your application is scored low. It's either scored very, very low, or the application is tossed to the side, meaning nobody has seen it. And so that's why it's important that the resume is done in a specific way to make sure that you begin to boost your chance of the application being seen. So a resume that is able to be scanned through and scanned high is going to have specific keywords. This is, again, that's why it's so important to the resume to be related to a specific role, because there are specific keywords that should be in there. And how you get these keywords is in the actual job description. That's why it's so important that you read the whole job ad. I know sometimes when we look at a job online, all we do is read the first 3 lines and then we hit apply. But you need to take that and you need to make sure that it is related to your resume. And what you can do is you can take out certain keywords and put them in there. Why? Because the system is going to be looking for these keywords. And if those keywords are not in there, then it automatically scores it very, very low. I've seen this at my past job so many different times, where I actually one day I went through all the applications that were scored low, because I'm like, this job is online and I have all these people that applied to it, but only like 5 of them were actually scored high. And I went back and I read through a few of them, and they had the experience that their experience was great. But the reason why the application was not scored high was because those keywords were not in there. So that's why it's so important that you put those keywords in there, because that is going to cause your resume to have a good score. Again, you need to make sure that it has headings on it. By headings, what I mean is your name. It needs to say skills. It needs to say work experience. And so again, because as it's being scanned through this machine, you want to be sure that it's in the most simple format as possible, which is why it's not a good idea to put your picture on there. It is not what was also is not good is also tables, columns, all those kind of things. What it does is it throws off hold on 1 second. I think my thing went off. Okay, I think I'm still streaming. I'm sorry about that. So what it does is it actually throws it off and it's scored low. So what you want to do, what you want to make sure is that it has a simple layout. That is going to give you the best chance. Don't make it cute. Just make sure the content that is in there is actually selling you. So these are some common resume mistakes that people tend to make often. Okay, so another thing, as I said earlier, is that it is too long. Your resume should never be, again, more than 2 pages. If by chance I can see you just have a lot of experience that is related to the job, but I try my very best to make sure that it's not over 2 pages. Again, this is more of a judgment call on your part. If you feel that all the experience that you have on there is something that you need to have on there, then that's fine. But it should really, really never, ever, ever go over 3 pages, because I am here to tell you that nobody is going to read something that long. All they really do initially is just kind of scan through it. Another thing, again, is that it's too generic. You don't want to put every single job that you've worked on there. You want to be sure that it's just related to that position that you're applying for. Another thing is unprofessional email addresses. This is something that I'm going to stress, because, again, your resume is something that they will see for the first time. So you definitely want to be sure that when it comes to the actual email addresses, that it is something. I always tell my clients, it's just best if you could use your first and your last name. Just keep it simple, simple, simple. You don't want to use addresses such as, baby girl 12. You want to be sure that you keep it as professional as you possibly can, because the sad thing is that there are some people who will judge you off of these things. I'm not saying that it's right, but it is definitely the reality that we live in. And so you want to be sure that you do everything you can to give yourself the best possible chance. Another thing is getting too personal. I myself, I'm not a fan of putting what are they called, hobbies on there. I'm not a fan of that, because you got to realize that what you don't want to do is feed into any biases or anything like that. So you want to be sure that only your professional experience is on there. Another thing is people tend to put too much work history on their resume. You should have at the most your last 7 to 10 years of experience related to the position that you are applying for. It's not good to go back too far. So it's just best if you put the last 7 to 10 years of your actual work history. Another thing is grammar. And I also wanted to put spelling on there as well. That's why it's so important to actually proofread it, and not only by you, but it's so important to have a friend or somebody to actually read through to make sure that there aren't any misspelled words on there as well. Especially if the field that you are applying for is related to something that is in the actual job ad. So you do want to be sure that that these things are not there. Another thing is, as I said earlier, is not using transferable skills. It's so important that a lot of people tend to miss out on their experience from their last job, not realizing that, hey, that experience can help you, but it's all about knowing how to actually say it in a way that's where it's going to sell you. And so important to know what those transferable skills are. And that's where it's go back to you studying that job ad and seeing, okay, I don't have experience exactly like that, but what are some areas that I do have experience in that I can still use? Because as somebody who has hired over the last 10 years, it's not always about you having the exact experience. You need to also learn how to sell your potential as well. Because again, even though these are different fields, a lot of companies still have the same problems. Another thing is, like I said earlier, is being too modest. This is your time to brag on yourself. This is the time to show how awesome you are. And so this is the time to really highlight that. Another thing is objective statements. And objective statements is, like I said earlier, is I've seen a lot of people, it sometimes says something like, I am looking to find a job in this. That does not have to be said on your resume, because if you are applying for jobs online, then they already know that you are trying to look for a job. So that information does not need to be there. And it's so important that information states what you can do for them. that top part is not about what you want, but that top part is about what can you do for them? Because remember, they only take that first 6.5 seconds to actually scan through. And that top part of your resume, that is going to be something that they look at first. So make sure you use that to sell yourself and to not have it used as what you're trying to get. Another mistake is not using your volunteer or internship experience. We sometimes think that work experience needs to only be from a paid job, and that's not true. When it says work experience, it's any kind of experience that you've had in that field. If you have, for instance, I know lately what I'm having to do sometimes is the clients I've worked with, they've had experience with Fiverr. I don't know if anybody have heard of Fiverr, but that is like a actual marketplace where you can go to market out your particular skills. And so they're thinking, oh, this isn't a job, this is something I do on the side, then this information is not able to be used. That's not true. You can use that. And so it's very important that that you do use that experience. Even if that experience is not paid, it still is experience, and it definitely still counts. So again, you always want to put yourself in the most best role as you possibly can. And so yes, please use that non-paid experience. It does count, and at the end of the day, that person on the other side does not know that experience was not paid. And so I'm going to look at frequently asked questions. These are questions that I get very often. It says, should I list references on my resume? No, they do not need to be on there at all. Again, because this is something that they are automatically assuming that you will already have. And if this is something that they need, then they will let you know. But this is very old school, and this is not something that you need to have on there. The next question is, how do I handle past employment gaps? Well, if the gap was in the past and you have worked since then, no need to explain. But let's say you haven't worked in the last year, then that may be something that you need to explain on there. And it's not anything, it's not anything that you need to go in a full long paragraph with, but how you list it is you list it underneath the actual experience, and then you enter in those dates that you didn't work, and on the side of it you could put homemaker or you took off some personal time. So you don't really have to go in a lot of detail with that. But of course, right now, because of what we're going through with the virus, it is going to be a very normal thing for certain ones to have an actual gap of maybe 6 to 9 months. So again, even that is not something that you have to explain right now, because that is the case for a lot of folks. So that in that case, if you haven't worked because of COVID, that is not anything that has to be explained, because a lot of people are in that boat right now. Another thing is, should I list my address? No, the full address does not need to be on there. The city and state will suffice. That's fine. There's no reason that they would need your full address at this point. And then especially if you are one that you are always passing out your resume, I tell people that it's not always the safest thing to have this particular document floating around with that information. So you definitely want to be sure that you just only put your city and state on there. What other kinds of information do I need? If you are on LinkedIn, I definitely advise you to put your LinkedIn on there, because again, when it comes to LinkedIn, that's one of the number one source where we go to find people. And so if that information is already on there, then that's great. Another thing is, if you have a website. Now, not everybody is going to have a website. This is more of a branding tool that some people use, but website. If you have that, then that should go on there as well. But remember, this is only a website that is about you. This isn't a website of maybe a side job that you have. This is only a website that just talks about yourself. The next one is, do I need more than one version of my resume? You only need more than one version if you are applying to positions in different roles or fields. So again, when you are job searching, you should be sticking to the same roles, meaning those same roles should be kind of in the same field with each other. If that case, no, because all you have to do is pretty much just, when you're applying for a particular job, you should be putting in those keywords into each application that you do. I know that can be a little time consuming, but your resume still needs to be tweaked some. When I say tweak, meaning all you're doing is just going in and having to switch out a few words. But in most chances, you shouldn't have to have more than one version unless you are doing two completely different jobs. Meaning, for example, if you were looking at a job as a registered nurse and you was also trying to find something in finance, that is two completely different fields. So in that case, you would. But if you're looking for a job in the same field, then no. How to avoid age discrimination on my resume. This is something real. So again, don't list graduation dates and only go back 7 to 10 years, because unfortunately, there are people who tend to only want to hire a certain age. So you definitely want to be sure that those dates are not on there. If this is my first time writing a resume, how do I get started? You can go into Microsoft Word. They have some really good templates there, or you can just Google them. They have them on there as well. And so with that, all you're really just doing is just putting in your experience and all that. So it's not too difficult if you kind of follow the steps that I've already explained. But again, there are some people who just don't have good writing skills, and that's why they hire people like me. So again, I'm not saying that it's something that's hard, but it's all about you knowing your strengths. Another thing is, what are some additional information I can include on my resume? You can do publications, certifications, awards. I highly, highly, highly suggest, if you've ever been awarded anything, put that on there. Remember, it's the time to brag about yourself. You can put you can also put memberships on there as well. So I want to say thank you guys for your time. I've come here to share all of my information. Unfortunately, I can't share everything that I know, but I do hope that the information that I shared was able to help you in some way. If you have any questions about anything I've said, you can contact me at support@IamAliciaPerkins.com, and you can also check out my website as well at IamAliciaPerkins.com. And I'm going to go ahead and pass this over.
All right, Alicia, we do have lots of questions for you in the comment section.
Awesome.
Let's go over them. So the first question is from Tuba, and she's saying, can you share any sample resume format which is useful?
Yes, let me pull one up. Give me 1 second. But in the meantime, I can take another question.
Sure. The next question that is here for you is it a good idea to share volunteer work on a resume?
I didn't hear that. Yes. Please share volunteer work. That is experience. Use whatever kind of experience you had. Again, that experience is not only experience that you were paid for, but it's any kind of experience at all.
All right. The next question is from Maham, and she's asking, how many projects should I add at most?
Projects, I would say at least 2 to 3. Again, because your resume doesn't have to have everything on there, but you do want to give them a good idea of your experience. So anywhere between 2 to 3 is fine.
All right. So the next question says that you mentioned in common mistakes putting too much work experience. Then what we should mention if we have. Then what should we mention if we have to work in 4 to 5 companies? And how can we defend it? So the person is asking that he has an experience of working in different companies and has switched a lot. So should he mention all of those companies or just a few of them?
If it's going, first of all, it's very important to make sure that it is related to the position that you are applying for. And if it is, it's not so much the companies, it's the amount of time. So as long as those companies were in the last 7 to 10 years, then that's fine. But with the companies, if you were doing the exact same thing there, then no, you don't have to mention that. But what you do want to do, like I said earlier, is to make sure that you do give them a very good idea of your skill set. So this is not a yes or a no thing. It's kind of more like, is those 4 or 5 companies, were they in the last 7 years? If so, yes. But if this is something that you have to pull all the way back from, then no.
All right. The next question is, what is the better approach to format a resume, chronologically or according to the skills?
I like chronological style myself. They are definitely a few different versions, but I like that better because from our side, that is able to paint an idea of your experience level and actually your actual, I guess you can say, storyline. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to share. I'm sorry, I'm looking for an actual template. Give me 1 second. And I'm going to show you what I mean. But yeah, so I would say chronological.
All right. And another question is, how much description of project itself should be added? Should I add tech stack used in project, my personal responsibilities, treated just like work experience, or should it be shorter than my work experience?
It needs to be just like the experience at a job, meaning you need to put what was the role and what value did you bring to it.
All right. And another person is asking, what if I worked in a company for only a few months and then switched due to any reason? How should I cover that gap in the resume? It won't be worth adding a job with few months duration, or would it?
Okay, I'm sorry. Can you read that for me one more time? I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, sure, I can do that. So Kuratulan is asking, what if I have worked in a company for only a few months and then have switched due to any reason? How should I cover that gap in the resume? It won't be worth adding a job with few months duration, or would it be?
I honestly, I'm gonna tell you, if you work at a job for only a few months, I really wouldn't use it. Now, if that's the only experience you have, then okay, yes, you can use it. But typically, if I'm on the hiring side and you work there for 3 months, I'm not gonna think that you learned a whole lot or there wasn't a whole lot that you done there. So I wouldn't add it.
All right. And Rehan is asking, do we need to add all education history? Usually, most of it is not relevant.
Yeah, so when it comes to education history, I start at college degree. I never added high school or anything like that. As far as degree, it depends on the situation. If you don't have experience in that field, but you do have that actual degree, add it. But in some cases, having a degree, even if it's not related to experience, it can help you. It's just depending on the field. So if you were going in a position in finance and you had a nursing, then that really doesn't help you. Whereas if you were going for a teaching job and you find yourself with a degree in sociology, that can help you. So it really depends on the actual degree and what job you're going for.
All right. The next question is, should fresh graduates include their CGPA even if it is low?
I don't think you should ever include your GPA. Never, ever, ever. As far as your GPA, even if it's a 3.5 or it's still considered high, don't do it, because there could be somebody who scored higher than you, and that automatically, what's the word, lowers you. And so of course I understand that it doesn't mean anything, but not everybody thinks like that. So don't ever put that down there.
All right. Mubashir is asking, can I add interest to fill space on my resume?
No, because that is personal information. Now, I will say this: if you are going for a job for like non-profit, or you are going for a job that is more community based, then yes. But in most cases, no.
And he is asking in the next one that if there is space left at the bottom, can we add those things there? So basically, he wants to ask how to utilize space if he does not have much content to show.
Well, I mean, it's all about formatting it the right way. But what you don't want to do is just fill it up, because remember, you only want the information on there to actually sell you and to only be related to the position that you're applying for. So it's not about having a resume that's full, but it's about having one that is going to actually sell you.
All right. Zarar is asking, should I post a picture on the resume or not?
No, do not post a picture, because when it comes to them hiring you, a lot of them are afraid of discrimination, and so a lot of times they will automatically toss it aside. So no, do not put that on there.
All right. Fatma is asking, are headings a good idea to separate different kinds of information?
Yes, you actually need these, because when the application is scanned through the my mind went blank, tracking system, I'm sorry, that is how the information is deciphered. So yes, headings is something that you must have on there.
All right. Menahil is asking, should we include the internship experience which is not relevant to the job that we are applying for? As fresh graduates, we usually do not have relevant experience.
Right. And so as far as the experience and the unpaid experience, I say yes, you can add it, but you need to word it in a way that it is related to the job that you are going for. Remember, this is all about the actual transferable skills.
The next question is from Tupa, and she's asking, is it a good idea to keep the resume in one color, or can we add more colors, like give different colors for headings and separate colors for text?
Yeah, that's fine. You want to make sure that it's not too colorful, but as for colors, I would use dark blues. I would use dark grays. I wouldn't go crazy with purples and pinks and all that. You want to make sure that is still a very neutral tone.
All right, the next question is from Mubashir again, and he's asking, is using online resume templates, the ones with icons, a good idea?
Right, yeah. Don't use those. Because remember that format needs to be as simple as it can. When I say simple, I mean it needs to be all text. Now lines, like those little thin lines, you know what I'm gonna do? I am going to share my screen right now, because
Sure,
this
please
is
do.
going to give you a good idea of a good template that you can use. So let me share it, and as soon as you see it, please let me know so I can get it with. Is it showing?
Not yet. I'll let you know as soon as it is visible.
Yes. Okay. So yeah, it's very important that that the template is as simple as it can. Few things you can add. You can add lines. You can add I guess fonts, but you want to be sure that it's not too it doesn't have any graphics on it.
Okay,
It's
meanwhile, that
saying
is
that it's
loading up. It's
showing.
still not shared. We can cater another
Sure.
question. Zara is asking, what should one do if one does not have experience, like that person is a fresh graduate?
Yeah, so if you don't have experience, if you work on any projects in schools, you have any volunteer experience, you can use it. Or if the experience that you do have, all you got to do is find a way to actually word it into transferable skills. Okay, so if you look at the example that I brought you, this is an example of how the the resume should look. In her information at the top, the summary profile is that top part that I was talking about earlier, where it needs to have at least 5 to 6 lines that is actually selling you. Now, when I was talking about the actual keywords, I was talking about this part here. Those keywords need to be in there that is related to the job that you are applying to. It's very, very important that those words are there. Remember, as far as us, it's really easy to scan through this because because having those certain words there, they actually stand out to me, and that gives me a very good idea, and is a very and your skill set is very clear. So you want to be sure that those actual keywords are right here. And then the actual experience and all that is right here. So again, I always say with your jobs, you want to put no more than maybe 5 bullet points under each job, because you want to be sure that that the information that you are actually putting down there is actually selling you. And it's so important to make sure that the resume is not fluff, but it's actual hard proof of your work experience. And then, of course, the rest of the information goes at the bottom. So hope this gives you a very good idea of just what as far as your resume, how it should be formatted as well.
All right, so coming back to the questions, Hera is asking, what is that one thing that you advise is going to stand out your resume?
The one thing is going to be quantifiable data, numbers, metrics. You really highlighting your accomplishments. That is what's going to make you stand out, because most people don't do that. What they do is they just put their regular day-to-day tasks. But if you can actually show the value that you brought, that alone will actually make you stand out.
Sabur is asking, for a fresher, is it necessary that the CV or resume should be of one page?
Yes, if you don't have any experience, if you are just starting out, your resume should only be 1 page.
The next question is from Fatma, and she's asking, what if you're looking for jobs in college that aren't really in your interest? You need those jobs just for financial stability. So how do you put up a resume for that sort of stuff, since there is no degree or relevant experience?
Yeah, I definitely understand that, especially the time that we're in right now, where unemployment is high, and they're but even if you are trying to look for something that maybe is not in your field, or something that you really want to do, you still need to have that resume targeted for whatever job that you're going for, and that experience still needs to be in that same zone. So it really doesn't matter if this is a job that you really want or that's not in your field. The point of it is that resume still needs to be in that same field.
All right, let's see if you have any more questions. I think we have covered all the questions. So it was a pleasure having you, Alicia.
Thank
And
you
we are
so
very
much.
happy to have you on board. And we hope to collaborate with you again sometime in the future. Good luck. And
Absolutely.
Allah Hafiz to the folks in Pakistan.
Bye bye.